Hello and welcome everyone to another edition of the Sports Frenzy podcast. Phil Penarski here, joined once again by our News 8 sports correspondents, Dean Holzwarth and Andy McDonald. Gentlemen, you guys had a pretty long extended Labor Day weekend, pretty busy weekend as well, and it all really kicked off with the return of high school football. First Frenzy now under your belts for the 2025 season. How did you guys feel like it went?
I think it went good. I mean, the weather was overall pretty good.
Oh, beautiful! Yeah,
yeah. It was definitely one of those situations where I don't think everybody wore shorts, but just to try to keep it going to the start of the year like we did last year. Yeah. I forced myself no matter what. Thursday was I think it was still nice enough to do that.
Thursday was nice. I wore shorts Thursday. I wore pants on Friday.
Okay. Yeah, Friday I stuck it out. Did that? I did wear a pullover on or whatever the little hoodie thing we got. The shirts we have. I did wear that on Friday night, but yeah. Overall was good. A lot of good games. I covered a couple out in the Muskegon area with Mona Shores, and then Reese Puffer went to both those games. And then I covered West Catholic and Northview, which was a really good game on Friday night. So that's where I was at. How about you?
Yeah, I was at Caledonia for the first game. They're kind of renovating their new stadium out there. They weren't totally completed. There were some bulldozers and stuff out there. So it's supposed to be done this week. But then I got to watch a walk-off winner down in Thornapple Kellogg. Hastings last-second field goal to beat TK. So that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, no, a lot of great games that you guys are going to be talking a little bit more in the Behind the Frenzy podcast. So be sure to tune into that, everybody, to get the latest from this first week of high school football here in the state of Michigan, and also get a preview of what to expect this upcoming Friday. So very excited about that. But again, football is probably going to be the majority of what we're talking about today, because college football was back this week, and of course the NFL starts up again in just a couple of days, really a couple of hours before that first Thursday night and Friday night games before Sunday, and the Detroit Lions heading out to Green Bay. We're going to talk about that in a little bit, but let's focus on the college scene first of all. Let's focus on these Michigan teams in particular that had pretty good weekend. The only team in our coverage area really that did not get a win was the Western Michigan Broncos. That's because they had to take on the Michigan State Spartans, who were victorious there in Lansing. I do want to start though by talking about the Michigan Wolverines, because that was a team that we had been kind of paying a lot of attention to and talking about it specifically with Bryce Underwood being named the starting quarterback as a freshman, and how he would perform against New Mexico kind of leading up into that Oklahoma game. They were able to kind of double up New Mexico in that first game at the Big House. What did you guys really make of not only the Wolverines in that first game, not only, just all the outside noise kind of going in, handling business at home, and also Bryce Underwood and, what he made of his first start? Yeah,
I was at the game. I covered it for us. So that was a really fun one to be at. Definitely the hype for Bryce was real. I probably saw more jerseys. Michigan fans have always been one of those that when they get any news about a quarterback to be good in the preseason, they try to make it seem like it is. And this one obviously has all the reasons to lead up to it with how much he's making in NIL. And when they announced his name over the board, kind of doing the starting lineups in the pregame stuff, place just went absolutely nuts. I saw more jerseys with his name on it than I've probably ever seen of any of the freshmen in college. So they believe in him, and I think no matter what, the thing that I kind of take away from it is last year it was incompetent quarterback play. It just was not good for Michigan. This year, I think no matter what happened in this game, as long as he could complete some passes, it was going to look good. I mean, no matter what, it definitely was better than what it was last year. They're already taking a step forward, even with the freshman quarterback. I think he looks a lot better, and I think he can be the real deal. I mean, he throws really, really hard. I mean, being down in the field that level, he throws fastballs, man, like that. I mean, it almost looks like a pitch. He has just such a quick arm motion. When he gets to the receivers, he's got to learn, I think, when to, kind of lead somebody and throw it a little softer. He kind of did a good job with throwing it to the tight end there for that touchdown for the third score they had of the game. But yeah, overall, I think he looked really good. He didn't see a lot of him with his feet, and I think maybe that's because they're not trying to show Oklahoma maybe the entire playbook. I kind of feel like that was a little bit of it, because he definitely has. I think he can run. I mean, he was mobile, moving around, but every time they did a read option, he never kept the ball to run with it. So maybe he'll only be a pocket passer. I don't really know, but for the most part, looks like he had a great arm, and Michigan looked good. And Haynes was the 3 touchdowns and 169 yards. Yeah, they had a pretty good running attack, and they pounced early and were able to get the job done. So it was an exciting one to be at. The crowd was great. It was an awesome atmosphere.
I mean, some of my takeaways was we found out that he could block. Right?
Yeah,
the block that he had was pretty vicious.
That was right in front of me, and that was awesome.
And that was pretty cool to see. My takeaway from him was like Andy said, he does. He throws fastballs out there. He throws really hard, but he was accurate for the most part. And we got to see a quarterback from Michigan throw for over 200 yards since J.J. McCarthy in the Rose Bowl. So that was fun to see. Actually, the offense obviously generating a little bit of the offense generating some points. Some long drives, this and that. I think some people might thought Michigan would probably win by a more decisive margin, but they didn't. But I don't know. First look, I really like what I saw. Like Andy said, I think he can run, but right now they're maybe just kind of like holding him back a little bit. But no, I like his confidence, kind of like his swagger, and I think he's gonna have a really good season.
One other takeaway I want to say, I think in the first half when the game kind of started getting comfortable, I mean the place felt uncomfortable, and Michigan kind of let them back in the game. They fumbled the kickoff. It got to 17-10. Michigan got the ball back there with like 2 minutes to go for the first half, and Bryce got sacked, and it was like third and I think like 17 or something like that, and they took a timeout. Or New Mexico did because they wanted to get the ball back. They wanted a chance to score again. They were rolling. I mean, they were really going to make Michigan uncomfortable if they got the ball back. And I feel like past Michigan regimes probably would have punted or just ran the ball, made New Mexico use their last time out, and kind of just punted away. Michigan let him throw that slant route to the receiver, and he got I think it was like a 30, 40-yard gain, and was able to get the first down. That I feel like that completely changed the momentum of the game for Michigan to still feel like they were able to be in control because they went down the field and scored that touchdown to make it 24-10 at half. So I just think that said a lot about where this coaching staff and where the entire football program is with Bryce Underwood right now, because they trusted him to make that pass on a 3rd and 17 when the game was really starting to feel like it was actually going to get uncomfortably close against a team from the Mountain West. So
that wouldn't happen last year.
No, there's no way. You're not doing that. I was surprised they even had those guys at quarterback last year. They're definitely not gonna. They had to know you can't let them in that situation throw the ball, right?
Well, and I think that does go to show just how different this team really does, at least on paper and through this first game, really look to be. Because even if Bryce Underwood doesn't live up to the hype, he looked very good. I thought he looked phenomenal in that first game. All the pressure on him, all the lights on him, and knowing that even with all that pressure, he was still able to do that. I mean, that's going to put defenses in a really weird position, because think about all the games that Michigan lost just because of that quarterback play, and even just defenses knowing okay, we don't even have to put our guys back there because they're not throwing it 30 yards down the field. We know that we're good there. We can put 8 guys in the box and just stop the run. So I think even just being able to put a guy out there like Bryce Underwood, I mean, that's going to make huge waves for Michigan this season. But kind of going into that Oklahoma game, everybody's going to be paying attention to that. Do you guys feel a little bit more confident for the Wolverines going into that game, or maybe a little bit, you guys are still maybe a little bit wary about how the Wolverines are going to fare when they go out to Norman this weekend?
I'm a little uncertain. Obviously, it's you're going to get a lot from this game, right? We're going to see how good Bryce Underwood is. Can he handle, his first big test on the road against a really good program? We'll just kind of see how he deals with the environment, the atmosphere, and and maybe he comes out and he shines and he doesn't let all that kind of bother him. But I'm uncertain. I'm hoping that obviously Michigan wins, but that's going to be a true test for him, I think. Yeah,
I'm definitely in the same boat. I mean, like I said, there were some plays where I felt like he was a little behind in receivers and stuff, and that's going to have to get cleaned up. I feel like Michigan's defense was a little concerning in this game with they allowed a 15-play drive and a 13-play drive. I think that can't happen. It was a lot of dink and dunk stuff, but nevertheless, they got on the field and did that. And obviously, they're missing one of their better defensive ends after the targeting call that people are questioning if it should have been targeting or not. They'll be missing him in the first half, so that could be huge too. But yeah, I mean, this is going to get really quick for Bryce Underwood. I mean, this isn't high school anymore. When you go on the road and you're playing against Oklahoma at night on ABC, college game days there all day. I mean, there was a lot of pressure on him as a 18-year-old kid that just turned 18, 2.5-3 weeks ago in this past game at Michigan. But everybody loves you there. They're not going to love you at Oklahoma, and they're gonna give it to him the entire game, no matter what the score is, unless they get up by a lot. So I think it's very important for them to have some easy game plan type passes for him early in the game to get some completions and kind of get the ball rolling downfield. I think that they can score first in their first drive. I think that's going to be huge. But it's definitely going to be a challenge because this one's going to be a lot tougher of a task than what they just had, and they had their points where they struggled and kind of let New Mexico back into this game. So we'll see what they're up for. That's for sure.
Absolutely. Yep. No, that game happening Saturday night in Oklahoma. We'll be very excited to see that. But again, I thought Michigan looked good, but they actually fell in the latest edition of the Associated Press poll. Again, they only fell one spot, but again, that's going to be a top 20 matchup now between the Oklahoma Sooners and the Michigan Wolverines.
I mean,
let's kind of power through now some of the other big matchups again that happened in the college football world. Of course, something that really concerned a lot of us here in West Michigan is the fact that Western Michigan and Michigan State played State off in a game. Michigan State kind of handled the Broncos pretty well, 23-6 in that game. Any surprises out of that for Michigan State in particular? I know we're all kind of split on just how this team was going to look in 2025. I thought, again, another team. It's the first week of the season. You're kind of prepping for just that first game because you don't really know what your opponents are going to really look like throughout the rest of the season. So they probably spent a little bit of extra time prepping for Western, but still, you got to like just everything that they were able to put together in that first game.
Yeah, I mean, I like Michigan State's defense. I mean, they didn't allow any points. The pick six was the only points that Western Michigan got in that game. So, I thought Michigan State's defense was kind of flying around a little bit, and they were containing and pressuring the quarterback, and I thought they did a really good job. So that's my kind of what I took from it. I thought Western maybe moved the ball a little bit, but they weren't able to.
No, yeah, their defense outscored their offense in the second half, so that's definitely a little concerning, especially against a MAC school. That's kind of been the thing for Michigan State. It feels like a lot in these recent years is like they get it rolling where they look like they're moving well. The first two drives, it was flawless. They had no problems, and then after those first two scores, when things kind of go a little bit like off script, they seem to have a hard time figuring it out when one thing doesn't work. So hopefully their offense is able to do that. I mean, they got Boston College at night coming up this week, and I think that's going to be a really big test for them. I think that this is a really important game for Jonathan Smith as their coach, even in week 2. Like I said, it seems like with a new athletic director who he gave the game ball to after the game, by the way. I think I find that very interesting after some of the stuff we've talked about in this show. But I think this is huge for him to kind of come out there and maybe win the fan base back over a little bit, because if Michigan State comes out in this game and falls flat in their face, it's not going to look good for them. But I also want to give a shout out to Tate Halleck. He scored the only touchdown for Western Michigan on a pick six late in that game. Whether it was late in the game or not, that's awesome that he was able to do that. Just because,
in high school.
Obviously, he's a local guy here, and a lot of people know his sister Theron, who plays for the basketball team there. So, it was pretty cool to be able to see that. I think for Western, it wasn't the game you wanted, but I mean, you did keep it close. They never gave up their fight, and I think that you got to see them play against some teams that are a little bit, more. I hate to degrade like that. It's just teams that are more on their level that play in their conference. You want to see what they do against those teams more compared to teams like Michigan State that with the recruits they get should be a little bit more ahead. So I wouldn't take too much away other than the fact that defense held a Big Ten school to 23 points. I think you can be pretty proud of that.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, definitely. And, with Western, the rest of their schedule, they're looking at North Texas next week. Then they've got Illinois. But then, they're kind of starting up the MAC conference schedule. So hopefully they're able to put some wins together. But, third season under Lance Taylor. I believe this is the third season for Lance Taylor down there in Kalamazoo. I mean, you still aren't happy with the win there. But, again, I think just watching that team, Michigan State, I felt like played a really dominant game. But Western was in there. They never really gave up the fight. And I think for a team that's in the MAC, going into a Big Ten school, a big-time matchup, maybe you've played against some of these guys or heard about some of these guys in high school, all being here in the state of Michigan. I mean, just the fact that they were able to put that together, I think, is a pretty good sign for these Broncos going in through hopefully the rest of the year. And hopefully they can start tacking on some wins and even make a bowl game this year, too.
Yeah, you keep it that close. I think that matters a lot. I think that it isn't a game that they're supposed to really even be. I mean, they covered the spread, so they did their job there and in that way. And I think that for Western, it is big for Lance Taylor to have a good year this year. I think in year 3 of some of the success that they've had in this program in the past with PJ Fleck and stuff, they've seen it get to high heights, and they like their football down in Kalamazoo. So it'll be important to take a lot from this game. You definitely want to see more from the offense. I mean, it's not like it's impossible to score against a school like Michigan State, even if you are a school like Western. They've done that plenty of times, and they've played against them where they've at least put up a couple of touchdowns or some points. So you definitely have some work to do on the offensive end. But overall, I think you got to be happier than, more degraded, I guess, leaving, because Michigan State never was able to really feel comfortable, I guess, until towards the end of the game. They kind of just ran out the clock and got away from it. And there's no way with all the questions and talk that they hear about, Michigan State's just going to go 5-7 again or whatever, that they hear from the media and people around. Michigan State was trying to score and run up, I'm sure, in that game. They probably wanted to win that game 49-0. I mean,
but they weren't able to.
Exactly, and you want to do that every week, but they weren't able to this time around. So I think if you're Western, your defense, you definitely got to look at that and be like, we can probably work with that going forward.
Definitely. Well, Andy, we also also going to talk about your Central Michigan Chippewas getting
you're
a
out.
big-time win against San Jose State over the weekend. I mean, I was unable to check out that game. I watched the highlights. Just an incredible. That was an incredible ending. I'm sure you were glued to the TV for that.
I was.
I wasn't get text the next morning.
It was.
Tell me what the score was.
I mean, I'm not here to like try to fire anybody up that much, but no, I was happy to see it. Central's had a weird couple years in football with all the Jim McElwain stuff. That how it kind of ended that way. Everything seems to end weird with everywhere he leaves, but it's Matthew Drinkle, their head coach. He seems like a really good guy. I was able to talk to him just a month or so ago. And I was awesome to see him get a win and start that era off 1-0. They were almost 2 touchdown underdogs in this game. Like the Mountain West is the same conference that New Mexico plays in, and they just kept up with Michigan. So to even see CMU be up as much as they were in this game, I mean, they went 7-6 last year. They had a better record than New Mexico. So I'm not saying anything like that. I don't think the way that this game went, they kind of started off the first half really, really good and got ahead, and I feel like they were able to ride it out until the end. Their defense really held them in this game. And they had to survive a couple of missed field goals there towards the end. It's a huge win for CMU just because they were 2 touchdown underdogs, and the fact they were able to win the game at all means a lot. And they have Pittsburgh and Michigan as their next 2, so it was very big for them to get a win on the board in the non-conference. That's for sure. So we'll see what they're able to do in the MAC.
Right. No, and I'm looking at the standings right now. They were one of 4 MAC teams to actually win in that first week. Those are usually when the MAC teams are playing some of those tougher opponents. But right now it's them and Bowling Green with Eddie George at the helm right now at the top of the standings.
When I was in college, I watched a team in Kansas that was 0-12 the year before come in and win like 38-0 against CMU. So it's always a tough week.
It's seen
one.
worse days for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, well, definitely glad that they were able to start off the win. And like we said, all of them except for Western, who put up a good fight against Michigan State, were able to be victorious in that first week. We're definitely excited about this upcoming week. Real quick, though, did want to touch on not a Michigan team, but another team that we here as people who cover Michigan football know a whole lot, and that is the Ohio State Buckeyes. They took on the then number 1 ranked Texas Longhorns at the Shoe in the first week of the season. Really good game. I know people that maybe don't like a defensive battle, as people might not call that a good game. I thought it was a very entertaining game. There were moments even when there weren't touchdowns being scored that, kind of made your jaw drop or really kind of kept you involved in that game. But just seeing how dominant Ohio State was, they're clearly the number 1 team now. AP just put them as the number 1 team in the country. Guys, do you think that Ohio State is primed for a repeat just after 1 week? Or, did that at all move just kind of how you felt about Ohio State in general going into this year? Just that game and dominant win, really, over Texas.
I think my thoughts about Ohio State always remain the same, right? Like, I don't ever get too hyped about Ohio State, but like defensively they look good, and I'm going to tell you why I heard that they look good. So Matt Patricia, obviously, is the new defensive coordinator at Ohio State. So,
he uses a pencil to
are you going to hear what I'm saying?
Yeah,
yes. So apparently, someone said that the Texas got Belichicked because back in the day when Patricia was defensive coordinator, they would cause havoc and they would just obviously cause problems for Eli and Peyton when they played them. So some are saying that they did the same thing to Arch Manning. They switched defenses. Like Arch Manning had no idea what defense they were in, so he was super frazzled, and that's why he struggled mightily. He only had like 38 yards through the first 2.5 quarters. So that's something I took away was like, obviously we all know how we feel about Matt Patricia, but obviously they did a really good job of limiting Arch Manning and obviously making life tough for him.
Yeah, it's kind of where it makes me laugh because like all these Lions fans are like, oh, Ohio State's can be so bad because they got Matt Patricia. Like he was a great coordinator when he was a coordinator.
He was a great coordinator. He was a good head coach, but he was a great
coordinator, and he's a coordinator in college. I think he can make it work. But yeah, so that's the whole thing for me with that. Yeah. But I understand like the angst, obviously, but as a fan base for the Lions. But I think that's a really good point, Dean. I didn't know that they switched up the defenses that much, and that obviously makes a lot of sense why Arch struggled that much. I also think just going into the Horseshoe and playing your first game in front of all those people on a stage like that and all this hype that's getting put. I mean, the preview video on Fox was about him like before the game started. Like it's just it's a lot to put on a kid that age. Like, I mean, this is what's going to happen more and more when you have this much money getting put on something. Bryce Underwood does this. I guarantee there's going to be something like that comes out for him before this Oklahoma game. And if he does the same thing, everybody's going to be like, oh, he's garbage. He's trash. Like, you got to give these kids more time. And if you look at the end of the game, Arch did play a lot better towards the end of the game.
Right.
He started throwing some better passes. Like, I don't think his season's completely over because he struggled in one of the most hard environments to play in to start the year. But yeah, I mean, Ohio State, it's a great win for them either way. That Texas was a tough test, and their defense was really able to stand up to the task. I don't think they're a surefire national champion by like any means. I don't think anybody in the country is right now. I think it takes a while to find that kind of stuff out.
Yep.
And they still have a long way to go on offense from what it looks like for me. And that was kind of more my concern with Ohio State because they lost a lot of people, and it's not that easy to replace it. So we'll see what they're able to do. But Sand looked like he had a pretty decent game, but they have a long way to go. Texas obviously has a very good defense, but this is also why I think you don't do 1 versus 2 to start the season.
No.
I just don't like. I don't agree with it. Like I don't mind like a 4 versus 10 or whatever. Obviously, preseason rankings are what they are, but I don't care about defensive battle. I don't mind it. It's fine sometimes when that happens, but like that's probably why this game went more that direction is because it was week 1.
Yeah.
So.
No. I mean, when I saw Matt Patricia on the screen, I did the Leonardo DiCaprio meme when I was like, hey, wait, what? I forgot about it from the offseason.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think, I don't know. I think I kind of maybe bought a little bit too much into the Texas hype and seeing them kind of get dismantled offensively by Ohio State. I don't know. I was kind of taken aback. I was like, wow, Ohio State, just what they do almost every single year. They reloaded, and they're going to be a top 5 team probably for most of the year, if not all the way through to the playoffs.
Until they play Michigan.
Yeah. No, hopefully, fingers crossed on that. I mean, again, we touched on it last week, but that would be an awesome 1 versus 2 matchup. Ohio,
I like
State,
in the
Michigan.
same light for me. I don't know about you guys, but I don't think like Michigan is that far away from them right now. I think we'll find out a lot more this Saturday, but I definitely think they like could be as good. I didn't see that much from Ohio State's offense either. So way better defense.
Very underwhelming.
Way
Ohio
better
State's
defense,
offense,
but
yes.
still, I think that it could be at least a little bit closer than maybe we thought coming into the season.
Right, absolutely. Well, again, that's all coming up. We're going to be paying close attention. We're going to be bringing you the latest, obviously, from the college world. But let's move on to the pros now, because the Lions are getting set to take on the Green Bay Packers in the first week of the NFL season this upcoming Sunday. We're so very excited about it. It's being played in Lambeau. It's going to be really just an awesome clash of 2 of the premier teams, not just in the NFC North, but in the entire conference, really. And the Packers just got a little bit better. If you've been living under a rock, you probably didn't hear that Micah Parsons is not a Dallas Cowboy anymore. He is now a Green Bay Packer. He was traded and then signed to an extension there in Green Bay. I want to focus on the game on Sunday, right? Let's focus on the news, I guess, in general. When you first found out, because we've been hearing about it all offseason, what's going to happen with Micah Parsons in Dallas. Now that he is on a new team, and that team happens to be in the same division as the Detroit Lions, I mean, what is that first initial reaction you guys had?
Go for it.
I mean, if we can quote like a teenager, I was like, OMG, right? Like, I was literally shocked that move was made. I can't believe, like, I watched the documentary on Jerry Jones on Netflix, and, like, he's a little bit insane, but, like, I didn't think he'd give up their best, literally their best player, one of the best defensive players in the league. So, I just didn't understand the move. You get a, older defensive tackle and some first-round picks, but like Micah Parsons is really, really good, and he's still young. And I don't know what they're doing down in Dallas. Like you trade away Luka, and now you trade away Micah Parsons. I mean, I just don't get it. As a Lions fan, like I know so many Lions fans are like, oh my gosh, I'm so worried now because Lions have to play against Micah Parsons, twice every year for the next how many years. But, like, I don't know. One player doesn't make a defense, obviously, but he does make the Packers, a lot stronger defensively. But I don't know. I was just stunned by the move, and, I'm looking forward to Sunday's game.
I did hear some rumors, and I'm not, like, sure if they're, like, fully true or anything. It did seem like there was, like, some credible sources behind it that Jerry and Micah had actually kind of, like, come to agreements on a deal, but then his agent was like, no, we can get more. And then Jerry was kind of like, nope, I'm done with it. Because
Jerry didn't like his agent whatsoever.
Yeah, so I think that does have to play a little bit of part of it. And in a way, listen, Jerry Jones is Jerry Jones. But I do respect, like, the aspect of we made a deal and now you're going to go back on your word kind of thing. And maybe that's why he didn't. But what makes him sound crazy is, like, afterwards he talked about how it still was a win now move because they got better interior defensive linemen.
Yeah,
I'm like, what are you talking about? You get rid of him. That is not, like, that is not the winning move move. With the winning move would be bringing back one of the best, a generational defensive end. But yeah, obviously he's in Green Bay. I think you'd be the biggest homer ever to say that doesn't make them like 10 times better than they were before on the defensive end. I think that with Rashawn Gary on the other side, who isn't like, maybe he's not a top 20 guy, but I mean, he might be now with that guy on the other end and only having to deal with one blocker. So it's going to be it's going to be tough for any team that has to play against him. I think that the odds of Green Bay going up and being ahead of the Lions to win the division in most of the sports books, I don't know if I necessarily agree with that in like fully, just because the Lions still have a really, really good team. I think that their roster is still really good. And I think people are just forgetting that sometimes. But yeah, Green Bay has a great defense. I think they have a better chance to win. But I mean, think about Jordan Love didn't play a full season last year and he wasn't healthy. And when he did, he was like a 60%. I mean, he wasn't great at passing the ball. Like their offense had a lot of problems. They don't even know who their wide receiver one is. Maybe it's Matthew Golden, who they just drafted. But yeah, I don't think that it necessarily just puts Green Bay on top of the world. I do think it gives them a better chance to win. Obviously, you get that much better of a player, it does. I just think, in my opinion, it's kind of a weird time for them to go for right now. And obviously, he might not play in this first game against Detroit. So that's also big news too. So yeah, maybe the Lions catch a break there and only have to play him once this year. But and it's definitely the first game on the road, like having to go in there. It's definitely a lot nicer to only have to deal with one of those guys on the end. So I mean, is Aiden Hutchinson in the same tier? I don't know, like whatever. And obviously, Brad Holmes made the comment the day before about how, like, he was basically kind of joking, like, no teams in the NFL have two of these guys. Well, Green Bay did that the next day. So it's definitely adds a lot more to this game. That's for sure. A lot more.
Yeah. So Andy, you don't think that Green Bay maybe jumped Detroit in the potential for winning the division, but Dean, I mean, do you feel that maybe they did, or do you still kind of feel like you're still sticking with your pick?
Yeah, Lions are still the favorite to win.
Yeah.
The
I mean, I picked the Vikings.
Well, I'm saying you picked the Vikings, but I think you had Detroit in second.
Yeah, no, I did, and it doesn't change like my opinion on that. I still like wouldn't be shocked. I wouldn't be shocked if any of these three teams won it, to be honest with you, because they're all good, and a lot of things happen in a football season when they have to. I mean, the Lions' schedule is brutal. Like, it's going to be tough on them. That's my whole reason for that anyway. I just think it's tougher than either one of their schedules. I thought the Lions might be the better team, but yeah, it takes time to figure things out when you lose a couple coordinators. That's for sure. And I think that's going to be tough on Detroit to start the year a little bit more than people know about it and are worried about it. But I also just think people need to think about the talent the Lions still have in this offense. Like, yes, they lost some linemen, but like, does Amon-Ra St. Brown all of a sudden not be good anymore? Is Jahmyr Gibbs, is everything we saw last year with him breaking these runs not real anymore? Like, Jameson Williams started to look like an absolute freak on the outside at the end of the year. Like, those things are still there, and they've only gotten better, and they're only getting more into their prime, and they're healthy. So I just don't understand.
Lions have so many weapons.
Yeah, I just don't get it. Like, I don't. Sam Laporta's like fully healthy this year. Isaac Tesla looks like this interesting piece. I mean, like, I don't understand like all the Lions just can't score anymore. I think they're gonna take this as it's just more bulletin board, and that's the biggest thing for me is Dan Campbell. Like, he is the one that like started this offense in the first place before they hired Ben Johnson on the staff. Like, it's just because of like everybody, kind of looked at him as like this dumb jock when he came in. I think that still sticks to them all the way through, and it's not really fair because I think that he's a better X's and O's guys than people give him credit for. So just because he goes for it doesn't make him not understand the game. You know what I mean? So I think that he's still, until he's taken down. What's his record against Kevin O'Connell? Has he lost like maybe one time? I think it is, or something like that. So I don't know. Until it happens, it's got to be proven. Yeah. But I definitely think that Detroit's still going to be right there.
Division still has to go through Detroit for sure.
Yeah.
Right.
But, guys, I do think the NFC North for the first time in a long time is going to be super intriguing. Like, I think all of those matchups.
They're all good.
Even the Bears. Even the Bears.
I think all those matchups are going to be very intriguing and very exciting to kind of watch and see how they all play out.
That's why I keep saying, like, all three could do it. Like, I don't think the Bears can do it.
I don't think the Bears can either.
I'll just go out and say that.
But the first three,
I mean, do that. But
Minnesota.
Yeah, exactly. Like, is it really like, how wrong are you if your team doesn't get it? I feel like all three of these teams are so good. That's why in the sports books, I mean, Vegas doesn't care what we think or what our opinions are outside of this job. It's like they put the lines like that for a reason, and that's why they're so close.
Right.
So
yeah. All right. Well, real quick, guys, predictions for Sunday's game against are the Lions coming out of Green Bay victorious, or maybe they start into the season 0-1?
I'm taking the Lions 24-17.
24-17.
Yep.
Okay.
I think it's going to be a close game. I think it'll be a really good game, but Lions. Like I said, it'll be interesting. Like Andy said, like I'm just looking forward to seeing the starters play. They haven't played, so it might be a little bit of rust there. But I do think the Lions will prevail.
For sure. I'll go 28-24 Lions. I'm pretty similar to that. I think that the the bulletin board material right now that they have, like with everything with the Micah Parsons signing and just like them jumping in the division. The Lions have only excelled in this situation so far under Dan Campbell. Like it's yet to be like whenever they're not the favorites, they've seemed to be able to win since they've become good. So I'm not going to go against them until there's a reason to right now. So I'm going to take Detroit this weekend.
All right, awesome. Well, I mean, again, I'd love to know if Micah Parsons is going to play or
That
not.
also is a huge deal.
Yeah, if he does, I don't know. I think Green Bay might have to edge it out. If I have to pick a final prediction and a score, though, I'll probably go 17-21 Detroit.
Okay.
I'll leave it at that. And then we can definitely check back. And then, it's going to be 50-100, and we're all wrong probably. So we'll be back again next week for that. Dean and Andy, so good to see you guys again. As a reminder, they also have the Behind the Frenzy podcast, which you can also check out on our website, woodtv.com, to get all the latest on the high school sports world here as well. So, gentlemen, thank you both so much for being here. We'll see you again next week on the Sports Frenzy podcast.